I just finished the first draft of my novel. And if you're new here, my name is Stephanie, and I am currently working on my very first book. And that's where I am in the process. I finished the first draft just a few days ago, and now I'm going to brainstorm new book ideas. And the reason I'm doing this now is because it's generally recommended that you take a break after writing your first draft. So you kind of set it aside and come back to it at a later date with fresh eyes. I'm only going to take a week off. I've taken a lot of breaks already recently. I just looked at the word count before I started recording. So it took me 7 months to write this book. It took me 4 months to write 75% of my book and 3 months to write the other 25%. So obviously I took a lot of breaks. There were weeks where I only wrote 1 day a week, or I wrote 1 day every 2 weeks. And this was because I was in the process of moving. I really didn't have time to write. And I just have taken so many week-long breaks over the course of the last 3 months that I feel like I've had a lot of time to be separated from this work. So what I decided to do this week is work on my next book idea. I'm hopeful that by the end of this vlog, I will have decided what my next project will be. I want to go ahead and take this opportunity to do this now, so that way the next time a break like this comes up, I can actually start writing something or exploring something a little more in depth. I do already have some ideas that I'm going to be investigating a little bit. I have the original book idea that I've had since I wanted to start writing a book. Fun fact, the book I'm writing right now was not the first book idea I ever had. I'm not going to go into that story. I want to explore that book idea a little bit more. I've been a little bit anxious to revisit that because I haven't been thinking about it a lot. I have another book idea that I kind of created an inciting incident in my head. I have no clue where it's going, but I wanted to explore that a little bit. I also have another idea, which is just a concept. I have no clue anything about it other than one day I said to myself, it'd be really cool if I wrote a book where this happened. That's the concept I'm working with right now. And then I also want to brainstorm and think about, is there anything else that I may want to write about? Can I come up with a new book idea, a new concept, some kind of character or magic system that I want to explore? So that's really going to be the purpose of this vlog, is exploring each of these different story ideas and coming up with a final one for me to work on at the end. Today, it is a very gloomy, rainy day outside. Unfortunately, it's become the norm here in New England. Because the weather's not great, I'm definitely going to stay inside today. So I figure it is the perfect day to start this exercise. And today I'm going to work on the original book idea that I ever had. I really want to take time to explore this, and since I have all day today to work on it, I feel like it's the best use of my time today is to explore that. This one, I'm going to go more in depth and work on the plot and try and solidify some story concepts. I've been working on this for so long that I want to start building it as a story. So hopefully by the end of tonight, I will have kind of a nice little very either outline or 3 to 5 paragraph explanation of what's happening in that book. And that's what I want to walk away with for this concept. I'm really excited to do this because I have not done any brainstorming or plotting story-wise for a different story or anything in probably a year. So this will be a really interesting exercise that is not related to the book I've been working on for the whole last year. It's going to be really fun, and I can't wait to see what I come up with. I'm done with my first book idea. I had a pretty productive day. I really enjoyed working on it and actually writing things down and typing things in my computer. It made it a little more real because it's been living in my head for years at this point. And so it was really nice to kind of work on it, develop it a little bit, and see where it took me. I did come up with a really cool concept for, I'm not really sure how to describe it, how the characters move through the book. Not necessarily the plot, but maybe like a plot mechanism where it's the thing that makes them move throughout the novel and what is driving their decision-making processes or what they're doing. I had that spark of inspiration for this book and I played around with it a little bit, but I'm actually not sure that it would work well for the concept of this book. So it may be something I visit in a different book or I save and hold on to for when I have a good idea for it. But it was really cool to come up with an interesting concept nonetheless. As you saw, I started out on my notebook because that's how I brainstorm best, is by physically writing in a notebook and kind of like doodling. I do like maps where I draw arrows and then kind of how, arrow to this, arrow to that. That's how I work best. And then I decided, which was totally unplanned, to move to my computer. I ended up making about a paragraph long summary of the book. I began with the beginning and it was basically where the book started, what the characters were doing. Then I described briefly the inciting incident, kind of the progression throughout the novel, like what was the main theme or how, it was the main plot of the novel. And then I talked about how the novel was going to end. So I've got that sorted out. I also put underneath that, I call it alternate ideas. And it's probably like things I could put in or things I could put into another book. And I came up with 5 or 6 alternate ideas. And I'm actually really excited about having these alternate ideas because what I found when I was writing the last book was I would write sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes I would write something that I've had in my head forever that was the plan. And then when I wrote it, I would be like, ugh, I don't really think this fits in this story, or I don't really think this fits here. And then I wouldn't know what to put in it. So I think it'll be really cool to kind of have a bank of alternate ideas for stories to just have on hand so I don't have to think about it and brainstorm later. I'll have it all ready for me to think about if I get to that point. So that wraps up that book idea for the day. I'm going to work on another one tomorrow. I don't know which one it will be yet or how I will go about doing it. It's gonna be an adventure tomorrow because this one was a little bit easier because I've been working on this one for a while. From this point forward, it's gonna be really interesting. So I will see you tomorrow and we'll see how this goes. Another idea explored. Unfortunately, I wasn't super happy about this idea that I've just been working on. I spent a good bit of time trying to elaborate with the story and make it better. The issue was I came up with a concept, but it just felt really flat. Like the situation I created felt like any other, it could happen in any book, in any place. There wasn't really anything unique or interesting about it, and I kept trying to find ways to make it unique or interesting, and I just really couldn't. I don't really consider this wasted time because I think I could possibly incorporate this into something else when I come up with an idea that's more unique or interesting. But for now, I will probably shelf this idea just because it didn't really go anywhere while I was working on it. I mean, there's not much more I can say about it. I am slightly disappointed that I didn't make a lot of traction with this idea because I want to come out with my goal is to come out with 3 solid ideas at the end of this. This doesn't help, but hey, it's a good exercise, right? Not every idea you have is going to be a wonderful idea, and that's okay. I will say something else I've been struggling with is my ability to not think about my book. This is now day 2 of me trying to think of new ideas and new things to write about. I am constantly thinking of my book. And it's almost like intrusive thoughts. For example, I'm sitting there trying to brainstorm an idea for a book, and then I think, oh, maybe something like this would be good for X character in the other book. And maybe I could do something like this for the book. And the purpose of this is to not think about the book. And of course, every time I have those thoughts where I start thinking about the other book, I do stop and I'm like, okay, this isn't time to think about my first book. It's time to think about the next book. I do kind of course correct. I've been thinking about this book for over a year, and it's been almost a daily thing over the entire year. And to suddenly have to not think about it and switch gears and think about something totally different, I'm finding it really hard. I've just been working on this for so long that to suddenly stop working on it is just very strange to my brain. I want to keep working on it, and I'm trying to take a break, but it's just like it just keeps coming back. So that is something I'm definitely struggling with while I'm doing these exercises. I had that problem last night. I had it today. I'm sure I will have it tomorrow. It's just something I'm gonna have to deal with, but it's really hard because when you're trying to think of something new, the last thing you want is to start thinking about your old book, especially because this is the 1 week where I'm not supposed to think about it. So I'll be interested to see how things go as the week progresses and as I evaluate more book ideas. That's gonna be it for tonight. It's gonna be a short day because I was actually gonna work on one idea this afternoon and one tonight, and I had some last minute plans pop up, so I'm only able to work on one idea today. But I'll work on at least one more tomorrow, and we'll see kind of how much progress I make then. I think I found my new book idea. I had this idea this morning, and I was just thinking this morning. I wasn't actively sitting down trying to brainstorm. It was just something I was doing throughout the morning. And this idea popped in my head, and it was a little unusual because typically when I brainstorm book ideas or plot ideas, it has to do with the main character. What is the main character's story? What is their background? What are they trying to do? What is their occupation? What is their specialty? What situation have they found themselves in? I brainstorm all these things related to the main character. And for some reason, I came up with an idea for the villain. And so I kind of ran with it a little bit, and I brainstormed, what is this villain doing? What is this villain known for? What is the end goal of the villain? And I just started going through all this stuff. So I went into this brainstorming session solely focused on the villain. I had not one thought about the protagonist. I shaped my protagonist kind of around the situation. And I said, what is my protagonist doing in this situation? What is the protagonist's goals? What are they hoping for? And I came up with what I think is a really fun idea for this book. And I'm really excited about it. So I did spend a little bit longer than usual working on it today. I originally wanted to do 2 book ideas today, but because I really liked this one, I wanted to spend a lot of time doing it. So I worked on it in the afternoon, and I worked on it a little bit this evening. I think it's a really fun idea. I think it would be fun to write. That's probably why I'm very excited about it. And right now it's at the top of my list. I am going to work on one more book idea tomorrow, and then that's going to be the end. I don't want to stop yet because I only really have 2 viable book ideas, and I feel like I want to build more in the pipeline, so when I have these opportunities, I can spend more time evaluating and really diving into these stories. So I will pick this back up tomorrow, and then I will let you know what my final decision will be. Final idea is brainstormed. I came up with this idea while I was making dinner. I've been trying to think of ideas all day long. It's been really hard. Today was a very busy day, so I did not have a lot of time to think about things. I worked nonstop until it was time to make dinner. But during dinner, I had, while I was making it, I had time to think about it, and I brainstormed a lot and came up with this interesting concept. I do like the concept. I think it is fun. I am not as excited about it as the one I was thinking about yesterday. I think it's primarily because this idea, I just had a little more problems brainstorming and fleshing out the idea. Whereas the one yesterday, I was able to form a pretty clear picture right away of the story. I don't think there's anything wrong with the one I was doing today or the ones I was doing before. I just think when I have an idea, sometimes my mind really goes with it and sometimes it has problems. It doesn't mean that the idea that I came up with is hard or difficult or may not be a good idea. It's kind of like, how is your brain working that night? To me, that's what it really is all about. The concept I came up with today, I like it. It's interesting, but there's parts of the concept that it just doesn't speak to me. I think if I were to sit down and brainstorm for a longer period of time, maybe I'd find ways to make it speak to me. What I really wanted to do tonight was just come up with another idea. See if I could come up with something that I liked better than what I've done before. So now I have 3 viable ideas for what to write next. As I was doing all my activities today, I kept thinking about how am I going to choose what I want to work on next, especially because I have some good ideas. And right now, I feel like when I choose one, I'm going to have to put the other one on the shelf. And at least for a period of time, not like permanently. And that kind of hurts because I have these quite a few ideas that I really like and that I want to explore, but I'm going to have to be like, oh, sorry, I got to work on something else now. It needs to be something I'm excited about so that when I have these breaks and I go work on it later, I just am excited about it. I have all these great ideas and I want to start exploring them and writing them and doing all this stuff. And I have to, prioritize my workload in a way that makes sense. And it means I can't work on everything at once. Maybe I can, who knows, but I'm the kind of person that I want to focus on one thing and one thing only and not have 5 different projects going on in the background. That would be too much for me. What am I choosing to write for my next book? Well, I have chosen to write the book with the villain plot. I have to say, out of all my ideas, this one excited me the most. And it actually isn't because of the villain, it's because of the story I created around the villain. This book really excited me. Yesterday, when I came up with this idea, it was just, I couldn't stop thinking about it all night long, even after I had put my stuff away and taken a break and got ready for bed or whatever. I was falling asleep thinking about what I could do with this story. I always tend to try to go where my excitement leads me, and out of the 3 viable ideas I had, this idea had me the most excited. I still have a special place in my heart for my first idea, which is the book idea that I had many years ago. It was 2 years ago. I still want to explore that one. I think the reason I'm not as excited about it is because I have planned that as a series and I still don't want to write it for many reasons. Because if I go the traditional publishing route, it will be hard to sell that as a series. Also, I still am not really confident in my writing, so I don't want to dedicate I call it an epic book. It's going to be multiple books, and it's going to be a lot of themes and stuff. And I don't want to start writing it yet because I feel like my writing skills are just not up to par for that kind of a book. The villain story arc book is a lot easier to write, I think, in terms of plot. I'm going to learn a lot about my writing technique and how to improve while I do my first book and my first draft stuff. But I think the villain story arc book is a better lead-in for a second book for me, just based on my writing ability. And I think that once I have 2 books under my belt, I can really start to feel confident in my writing and maybe kind of reach for the stars a little bit with this big series that I have planned. So that's why I'm going with the villain story arc book. I need to start coming up with names for my projects because this is going to get confusing really fast. So I'm going to try and come up with a name for my first book and another one for the second one. And I have no clue what I'm going to name it. The naming convention, I'll have to think about it, but it'll make it a little bit easier. So I don't refer to all these books as my first this and this and this and my second. You'll get confused. I'll get confused. I am very excited to have a book idea in the background one that I can start to work on and explore. It's kind of exciting starting a book from scratch again. And it's something that I kind of missed a little bit. Writing for 6 months, I kind of missed developing a story, although I say that now and I think I'm gonna have to replot my first draft anyway, so I might be doing it again real soon. But I'm really excited about this idea and I'm excited to see where it goes. And I don't know when I'm gonna work on this again, but it will be sometime soon.